Okay,
Right.
so I'm pretty sure what happened was it was either the 32-bit, 24-bit thing, or I noticed that my mic cut out a couple times. Like, I noticed that like whole sections of something that I said cut out a couple times. Maybe for like, because when I looked at the two tracks next to each other, like I started over again. Like I started from scratch after like 2 hours, and I was looking at the length of your track versus the length of my track, and yours was a solid 30, 45 seconds longer than mine. And at first I was like, oh, is this compressing it? Like maybe it compressed mine a little bit more because the 32 versus 24-bit. And it seemed to like just kind of, it did kind of seem like I'd fix it and then we'd kind of lose each other again. And then I'd fix it and then we'd kind of lose each other again. But at the end, we were completely talking over each other before I edited anything. So I was like super confused about that. And then I started going through it again and editing. And I did hear that there were certain parts where I would be like, and then you go after like 5 seconds, you're like, yeah. And you kind of agree and start talking about something else. And I was just like, dude, it sounds like my mic just like completely cut out.
Well,
and both times we've recorded, I've seen that it says dropouts. So maybe I did have a couple dropouts.
You know what? I didn't, when I was editing the first episode, I didn't think this was anything. But in the last like literally 40 seconds, for some reason, we just completely like desynced from each other. Like you were suddenly far more ahead in the conversation than I was, and I was like, that's weird. And I realigned that part, and then it was fine. It only happened at the very end, but I don't know, man. I don't know.
I mean, honestly, I would not be surprised if it's just my fucking really shitty computer, dude. I wouldn't be surprised if like I just tried to open Chrome just now so I could have the lyrics up, and last time I had Chrome open, I was reading the lyrics and I was on YouTube listening to the music all at the same time, and my computer can barely handle when we play D&D and I just have like a browser open. So
maybe
I think that's what's going on.
I mean, yeah, maybe close out stuff you're not using. Do you think it would help if we stopped showing video to each other on Skype? Because it doesn't help. Like affect us talking to each other, but it might affect the recording.
It might, but honestly, like I usually have the video open the whole time, and I was just barely I was like checking in every now and then on the lyrics and stuff like that, because I wanted to be able to see you. I think it helps me talk more naturally when I'm looking at you.
Well, all right. I mean, we're gonna figure this out eventually. It might be Audacity. It might be the computer. It might just be the bit rate. Who knows?
Dude, would not be surprised.
It is going to be a trial of error.
Yeah.
How we will figure this out.
Yeah, I think you're right. So I think what I'm going to do to avoid my computer lagging is I'm just going to have the notes open on my phone. And unfortunately, I don't think I'm going to be able to listen along to the music this time.
No.
I know, dude.
That sucks.
I know. Let me. It wasn't that bad. Honestly, editing was a fucking headache at times. But I think that the bit thing fixes it. So.
Yeah, because I mean, when I was editing the first episode, it was only that part at the very end. And that thing was like 2 hours long.
Right. Yeah. Well. Let's hope it's not the case this time. Let's hope it doesn't happen.
This is Brett editing from the future. It did.
But whatever, we'll deal.
And if not, I'll be the one editing. So
exactly,
you don't have to worry about it.
You got to fucking deal with it. Do you want to? Should we go ahead and do an intro?
Yeah, man.
I can handle if you want me to.
Yeah, go for it.
All right, I know we want to do this intro. What's up, buddies? This is Lucas and Brett, Earbuds, with another episode of Earbuds Podcast, where we talk for way too long about one album and we break down each song painstakingly. But we also get in some other conversations in the process. This, again, reiterating, this is Lucas. I am one of your hosts. My other host is my bud, Brett.
Hello, I am his bud, Brett. I was the one who suggested this album, and so I'm extremely stoked to get into it.
Yeah, man, this is one that I had heard of PUP, but I had never actually listened to their music. I think one of my friends showed me the song DVP like a while ago.
Yeah.
And that was the only song I'd heard by them before. So I had kind of a misconception of what they sounded like. I didn't get what I expected.
Yeah. It's not a complete like misdirection only hearing that song, but
right.
You would have no idea how often they go into odd time signatures. And the album, by the way, is their second studio album, which is The Dream Is Over. That's the one we'll be going over today.
Yeah, and before we get into this, like, we forgot to mention this at the beginning of the last episode. If you haven't heard this album before, it's probably a good idea to go listen to it. Pause this right now. We'll have a link in the description of this episode where you can go check it out on Spotify or Apple Music.
This bad boy is only 30 minutes, y'all. It is short and sweet.
Like, same thing as the Run the Jewels album. It's just so short and sweet and to the point, and there's no fat on this record. I loved that. And I think it would, again, it's just my opinion, but I think it is a better experience if you go and listen to the record and then listen to this album right after, or listen to the album and then listen to us. And yeah, it was not what I expected. It was in a weird way, it was happier than I thought it was going to be. And it was more aggressive than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, their music has a very punk, aggressive, but also bit of a kind of fuck it, we're all in it together, let's just have fun with it in a bar type thing. A
lot of group vocals, right? Like a lot of
there's
like
a lot
singing
of gang
along.
vocals.
Yeah.
There's a lot of, if you listen to this album and you picture it being a live show in a bar, it just all comes together, honestly. You see all the people shouting aloud. You can mosh almost nearly as easily as you can dance to these songs.
Yeah, I expected it to be way like sad boy emo. Like I thought it was going to be more like I don't even know a lot of the types of bands that play that type of music, but I didn't expect it to be so like catchy.
Yeah, for sure.
And yeah, man, it gave me that pop punk vibe, that feel that it's almost self-aware a little bit, and they're not taking themselves too seriously, but
right.
Really, I mean, he's getting into some pretty heavy shit on this album.
Oh yeah. And I would say that this is, a lot of people like Morbid Thoughts or Morbid Stuff. I always forget what that album's called. Is that
their newest one?
It's their newest one. A lot of people, I think most people herald that one as the best of the three so far. But personally, this album, Dream Is Over, is my favorite. And I think on the next one he gets a more emotional somehow than before. He talks about a lot of.
So is the next one a little more sad boy?
It's a little more sad boy. I'd say. I don't think it's
Boy with an I.
I haven't listened to it nearly enough. I don't think it's a bad album by any means. But I just love the grit on this one. I love the aggressiveness, but you can still kind of jam to it. It's still very catchy. You can, you can scream along. You can let your heart absolutely scream out the lyrics, It
is a very emotional record, but it is weird that it's really surprisingly aggressive music and really almost depressing, very sad lyrics, but it's so catchy that you do want to sing along the whole time. And they're playing it in a way that it doesn't sound that sad. So when you're singing along and you're like, I want to kill myself, or whatever, and you're not realizing what you're singing, because it's like, man, it makes me want to sing along so much. I'd only listened to this, for this podcast before, and I wish I had known the lyrics already, because I wanted to sing along. Like it has that vibe and that energy that it's very contagious. Like it reminded me a lot, because they play really catchy songs, and it's very pop punk, and it's very fun sounding, but really heavy content, like really heavy lyrics. And because of those two things combined, I had only heard like Say Anything is the only band that came to mind that they reminded me a lot of.
Oof.
And their shit's heavy, right? And I think it's a lot that has to do with alcoholism and drugs also that is on this record as well.
Yeah, I can't say I'm a fan of Say Anything at all, but I get what you're like. I get the connection.
Yeah, I think it's also the nasal voice. He has the classic pop punk nasal voice.
He does have like it. I was worried that you would be, it would be like, oh, the guy's voice is so annoying. Like I couldn't listen to any of the stuff he was doing because, like, I'm sure some people do think that, you know.
For sure. I mean, there were definitely not a few songs, maybe just one or two that his voice didn't annoy me. It didn't like grate. It wasn't grating. But I had to call out, like, wow, this dude's like really singing high on this one, or wow, he's like extra nasally, extra whiny on this one.
Yeah.
But I loved it. I really did. I liked this record a lot.
I'm so glad you do, man.
Yeah, I know that your buddy Will, he's like really into this band, right?
Yeah, I think I'm the first one that showed him the band. I could be wrong. I showed him DVP, you know, which is...
Was that a single? Because that's the one I heard.
I think it is. It has like a music video. It was on Dream Daddy, which is a daddy dating simulator. So
Dream Daddy.
I think it was something. It's definitely like their most straightforward kind of punk song on the record, you know? So I feel like it's probably the easiest, like most accessible.
You know, it didn't end up being my favorite on the record, but it was definitely, I would say, had the most radio-friendly parts to it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so he, you know, he likes them. I think he likes I think he had the same opinion I did about the third album, where he was like, we probably need to listen to it more. And I was going to go to one of their live shows in Austin when they came by, but... I was just like, honestly, I was like too scared to drive downtown.
Oh, like
so I couldn't go.
How long ago was this?
Maybe 2 or 3 years ago. Like I was just kind of getting comfortable with driving again, and like I only drove downtown when I absolutely needed to, like for a show that we were playing.
I was gonna say, dude, that must have been mental torture on you, how often we had to drive downtown like on a Friday night in the middle of the heart of everything going on.
I would say that it's the reason that I'm comfortable with driving again. But it sure isn't the best part of driving, is going downtown. And this show was like at I forgot where it was. It was right in the middle, you know.
Oh God, man. I mean, I love driving and I hated having to go downtown for shows.
Oh, it's the worst.
It's the fucking worst.
It's the worst. Like, I mean, we could have a whole episode where we talk about Austin traffic and downtown and stuff, but I think it would save a lot of time to get into that.
Yeah, as in our band, we must have played like close to 100 shows over the 3 years.
I'd say we nearly got there.
Yeah, maybe conservatively like 75 or something.
Something like that.
And so many of them were downtown, and that was why I was always in a bad mood on the day of a show, because I knew the bullshit I was gonna have to put up with just getting to go on stage and be able to play for people. The bullshit that you put up with in a band, having to unload in a spot where there's literally no place for you to park, and you have people walking around you, and you're unloading expensive equipment, and
you got to keep someone by the car so no one steals any stuff.
So many shady people downtown, especially in the areas that we would play in, and
then,
it smelled like piss.
And we play on weekends, so the parking would be the most expensive, right?
And unavailable.
Yeah, if you could find parking, it was like $20 to $30.
Oh my God, dude, we would lose money on so many shows we played.
I think honestly we might have exclusively lost money.
Yeah, because we would get paid most of the time, not nearly enough to even cover I remember some nights like we would get paid and we'd notice this doesn't even cover parking for the 4 of us.
I mean, parking, gas,
Emotional
distress. Never
Yeah.
nearly enough money for that.
It fucked with my health. I gained a shitload of weight because I would get Whataburger on the way home at 2 a.m. every time we played a show, and I'd get stoned and be eating at 3 a.m.
Oh man, I did that too. Yeah, I also got like when my dad would drive me to shows. Our like tradition would be we would go get some Whataburger
It's the
afterwards.
best. You're exhausted, but you have energy.
It's the best late night food,
you're on
dude.
an adrenaline rush, and then you sit in line at Whataburger for 45 minutes trying to get your food.
In any case, I regret not going.
Yeah.
I regret it
Yeah.
so much. I wish I could have just like taken a bus or something or gotten a ride from a friend. I would have loved.
They would
to
be
see them
really,
live.
really good live, especially in the right like space.
In the right kind of nasty bar.
Yeah, because this album has such a fuzziness to it. The guitars are so fuzzy that I'm not used to hearing in pop punk. So that was like a nice little change from the typical pop punk that I've heard before, where it's usually really produced to the point where it sounds a little too polished. Where it doesn't. It's
but
not raw.
There's some tracks. Some tracks on this thing are just dirty and gritty and crunchy.
Yeah, and yeah, and a weirdly aggressive, but also catchy, and you want to sing along, but also the lyrics are really depressing. It's a weird dichotomy. But I really love the final product, and like all those shows that we played made me realize like how hard it really is to be in a professional band, like how hard it really is to tour, and like your health just would deteriorate so much. I mean, you're having to eat bullshit, and that leads perfectly into the first song.
Well, I would. It's funny you bring that up because I actually only like 10 minutes ago found out why this album is called "The Dream Is Over."
Were they about to like break up as a band?
That's what I assumed.
I assumed, yeah.
But the singer went to the doctor, and he got some kind of a cyst or something in his vocal cords. And the doctor was like, I not only recommend you get off this tour, but you stop playing music.
Like stop singing altogether?
And apparently the doctor said, like, yeah, this rock thing, like, the dream is over. So just give it up.
Oh my God.
But he didn't. And I hope he's okay.
Man.
I hope he'll keep, I hope he's able to keep singing. But yeah, it's on to this first song on the album, which I thought is not this first song. You don't really see many songs like this. You know,
it's
what I'm
a
saying?
weird opener. It's a great opener, but it is weird. This seems more like a closing track.
It always weirds me out that this and DVP are just about the same length.
Oh, okay.
Because this always seems like, I think it's a great intro.
Yeah.
Because it starts off with that, kind of clean guitar and the vocals.
Super nasal vocals. I love it.
And if this tour doesn't kill you, then buddy, I'm on. And then the band comes in.
This song in particular reminds me a lot of a band called Violent Soho from Australia.
Oh,
They're
yeah?
kind of pop punk mixed with like grunge. The way that they produce their music sounds very grungy, but they're basically playing pop punk. And it's like the singer kind of sounds like this. He's kind of nasally, a little whiny, but very aggressive. And this was a great intro to the album. Like this set it up for me that after this track, I knew I was gonna like this record. Like if everything is like this, or
I'm
even
so glad to hear that,
even
dude.
around like similar to this, I'm gonna love this. And yeah, just like when he's kind of singing a little softly, really nasally, and then it just blows up and it goes into this weird like Latin-y drum thing, like really cool drum part.
Yeah. I'll probably say this a couple more times, but I feel like the drummer is kind of the ace in the hole. The drummer is kind of their trump card for the band.
I called out the drummer after maybe halfway through the record, and in my notes I have to give this guy a shout out because I don't necessarily think that he's an amazing drummer in terms of like technical ability, and you can prove me wrong, you're a drummer, but I thought that he did exactly what he was supposed to do every time, and he had so much energy in those drums that like that he is the driving force in every song. He's not Chris from RX Bandits where he's going off and playing triplet and quadruplets and shit.
Yeah, I was gonna make that exact same comparison.
This guy is very in the pocket.
I think he's an amazing drummer.
He's great.
I think he's fantastic, and I think he's got a lot more than he's willing to show. I've seen some live videos of him playing, and I could just tell, like, this guy could absolutely, like, destroy it if he wants to, but he plays what, like, needs to be played for the song, and he's able... My theory is that he's the reason that they can do all these odd time signatures and get away with it still sounding like groovy without throwing anything off.
Yeah, you know, you called out the weird time signatures, and I didn't even... I guess that is how smooth it is or how flawless it is, because I didn't feel like I heard any odd time signatures in this album.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean...
Nothing compared to RX Bandits.
Well, I mean, come on.
Yeah, it's just very obvious with them, and I guess I didn't notice it on this record that they changed time signatures or play odd signatures. I never noticed it.
There's no way this is right, but I honestly think like maybe half the songs are in 4/4.
No shit.
I could be totally wrong. I told myself to like keep track of it, but I just got too into the music. Like Tour Doesn't Kill You, DVP is in 4/4.
Mm-hmm.
I guess we'd have to get to the rest, but they, you know,
don't get ahead of yourself.
They play around with a lot of stuff, and you don't really notice because just a combination of the lead guitar helps out a lot. But the drums, I think, are the main reason that no one's really getting tripped up. And I gotta give him credit on that. You know, even if he doesn't do some crazy fills, and most of the stuff he does in the album are just kind of beats.
Mm-hmm.
Without him, I think it'd be a very different band.
Yeah, I think it's weird. The like that one member of the band is kind of like what brings it all together. Which I think it's that on RX Bandits, it's the drummer. And with these guys, I think it's the same thing. I think the drummer, like I was saying, he's not playing anything that's blowing my mind, and it might blow my mind a little bit more as we talk through this, because I didn't even notice weird time signatures. And if that's the case, then I'm like, dude, if you can fly under the radar and not even make me notice that, then that's pretty impressive. But yeah, he definitely is in the pocket, man. He's really, really good. And like I said, I love like how they go into this weird Latin-y, almost like carnival music, like you don't expect to hear that in a pop punk song, and it was very different, very cool. And I love the tongue-in-cheek lyrics, man. The song of the title of the song is if this tour doesn't kill you, I will.
Yeah, it's the song matter is not something you would usually see, but I think it's very conveys honest. That they're honest with each other enough, and they're comfortable enough with each other that they can make a song like this and like keep playing night after night.
Yeah, essentially talking about how sick of each other they are.
And it's not like they hate each other, but it doesn't matter who you're with. If you go for a year touring and you're stuck with these same four guys in a van, you know, just going wherever, getting a horrible sleep schedule, horrible food, like something's gonna get on your nerves.
Oh, dude, that's how I knew. After a while of being in our band and playing of just enough shows to get the feel of what it really is like to be in a band, and what it really is like to try and do this as often as we were. Even we were only playing maybe once a week on a good week, you know. But Oh man, yeah. I realized because I thought my dream was I want to be in a band and I want to tour and I want to record and this is just what I want to be my life. And after a solid year of trying to just play local shows, I knew that touring wasn't for me. I knew I wouldn't be able to do it. If I did, it would have to be. I would have to really think of a lot of ways to make myself not get depressed and to enjoy every part of the process because just the smells of the van alone, I wouldn't be able to deal.
There's a lot that goes into touring, man. Even just the little week-long tour that Burn Band went on, it's very enlightening. And it shows you, kind of things you didn't really know that you needed. And things that you had no idea you were going to deal with. You think it's going to be like
romantic. You
think it's going to be romantic. You're in a new city every day.
On the road.
On the road, meeting new people or whatever. And from my experience, it is not that. I mean, we had a very DIY operation with both bands, with Mortales as well.
Yeah.
We never had any agents or managers or anything. We did everything ourselves. Eventually we had enough of a reputation that we hardly had to ask for shows anymore, which is an absolute blessing.
I was trying to think of another word except blessing, but it's a blessing.
But it was like it. I don't like that word either, but it was a blessing.
Yeah, I think it talks to that we were good. But also it is very lucky. I mean, it was the same thing with my band in high school that after a while, we stopped having to ask for shows and started getting offers. And it really is. I mean, in high school especially, I was so fucking lazy that I stopped looking for shows because we would get offers. And I'm just like, I would take the offer and that was the show we were playing that month. I'm not trying to play another show because no one offered us another one. And it kind of got to that point with Mortalis where at first we were begging for shows and then we had to start denying shows because we were getting too many requests. And also because there were a few venues that I refused to play at again.
Which will go unnamed.
Yeah, which I will not name. But I think that process of like the 3 years that we were like really trying to go at this hard, it did show me that life is a lot harder than you think.
Yeah,
it's not romantic at all. It's really rough, and a lot of times, not a lot comes out of it. You're really lucky if something comes out of it. Mm-hmm. I love the line in this where he says, "I'm trying not to let you get in my head, but every line, every goddamn syllable that you say makes me want to gouge my eyes out with a power drill." That's an actual 2 lines of this song. Somehow he makes it rhyme and work. Syllable and power drill. Really clever writing too.
Yeah, and like you read the lyrics and you're like, how on earth does he fit that into this? Like, that doesn't
feels like
sound
stream
like
of
it would work.
consciousness. Yeah,
almost.
It feels, yeah. And then you realize it's rhyming, and then you realize like, oh my god, he's writing a paragraph and somehow singing it in a cadence that it fits in the. He's really good, man. The singer, I didn't know his name, but he's really good. He's perfect for this type of music, and he is one of those guys that you worry about, like with Fiddler. And those guys that you listen to how strained they are when they're playing this music, and it really, like, this is a passion even to a fault. It sounds like for this guy that he knows that it's killing him slowly, trying to do this, but he knows he's not meant for anything else. It seems like.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, it's tough, dude. But this was the song, like I said, a great opener because of like the guitars are so fuzzy, and I did not expect fuzzy, distorted guitars, and that set such a great precedent for the whole rest of the record.
So, what did you think of the transition into DVP?
I didn't even notice it. All of a sudden, he starts singing a different melody, and I had to open up my Spotify and be like, "Is this like a weird outro? Yeah, is this like a third verse?" Which again, like, this will come up probably multiple times, but I love that he just has, it's mostly 2 verses, 2 choruses, a bridge, and it's like, we're done. And I think that's great. These songs are 2.5 to 3 minutes each. Perfect for pop punk.
Just get in, get out, do
no
what needs to be
self-indulgence.
done.
Yeah. But I loved the transition. Like I said, I didn't even notice it. So I thought it was really seamless. and like DVP, like it doesn't, the energy doesn't stop. It's like another like really aggressive, but has group singing going like whoa,
Yeah,
really catchy group vocals, and yeah, I loved DVP a lot.
This is DVP was a song that sold me on PUP, you know, because I
Yeah.
heard about them and I listened to a couple songs on their first album and I was like, all right. And then this album came out, and I read about it on a Reddit post or something, like great transitions between songs, and like the first 2 songs were on there. I'm like, yeah, I guess I should check it out. I listened to DVP and I'm like, oh my god.
Yeah.
Like this is what I've been looking for, you know?
Yeah, it's deceptively, it's a really well composed song too. You hear it and it's like you can almost picture like a band in, you know, freshman year of college or something, just getting together to play this music, and it's like they're not taking it that seriously, but the musicianship is just like it's
great.
It's great.
Yeah.
So when you listen to it and you go, this sounds simple, but it's not. And there's a lot of little nuances that they're doing there, where the guitars kind of cut their distortion off and the drums are doing like a little marchy type beat during the O's in the chorus, and and it's really heavy fucking lyrical content also on a song that's super happy sounding and catchy.
And I love it when bands don't feel the need to show off. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, there's only one solo on this whole album.
Yeah.
Like
and,
one guitar solo.
You know, they're all deceptively good musicians, and you wouldn't really notice it, but you listen to the songs more and more and you think, oh, okay, yeah, this takes some skill. They could be doing a lot more than they are, but that also could be, if they did that, it might be a hindrance to the music. You know, and I just love when a band is like, here's what we're going to do. Here's what would sound best for this song, and we're going to do it.
Yeah, like there's no fat on it. There's no indulgence. It's not like, oh, we got to throw in a solo here. Oh, we need a guitar solo after the second chorus.
Yeah.
Like, there is none of that.
There really are. Yeah, there might just be the one guitar solo on this whole album.
I'm pretty sure it's just that one.
But yeah, it's DVP. So anything else on that one in particular?
Just the lyrical content, like what he's talking about in the song, about basically like getting over a breakup and drinking to deal with it.
Also, another perfect bar song, right?
Yeah, dude, I want to be there and going, whoa,
3 beers are so messed up.
Fun.
Get drunk and I can't shut up.
Oh man, and that was another one that was very reminiscent of Say Anything to Me, where it's this really catchy but very emotional song, and then you realize what he's talking about, and it kind of catches you off guard a little bit when you really listen to the lyrics, and it's like, oh, this. It took me way too long. It took me until like more than halfway on the album to realize that this is a breakup record.
I don't know about a breakup record, but
it kind of seems like it is. No,
I mean, there are a lot of songs about a relationship, but I don't know. I mean, maybe we'll go through the songs and I'll be like, huh, yeah, I guess it is. That's not that's not what I got from it though.
Well, maybe it's just about the choices that he chooses in his everyday abuse.
Yeah.
'Cause the whole album is basically like being abused in one way or another, whether he's abusing himself or being abused by like a toxic partner or a toxic ex.
Yeah. That is, I was on the Genius lyrics, and he said that him like doubting himself and his self-esteem and his self-destructive habits was a very present part of this album, and kind of snuck its way into just about every song.
I mean, the next song is pretty much all about it. Doubts.
Yeah, that's the one I got that little quote from. Doubts. Another, like, the chorus hits very hard. You can imagine the entire bar kind of like singing it together. Now that I got nothing, you're having your doubts. Just maybe about a relationship that you ruined or something like that.
Yeah, or maybe it's like now that you realize that like it's gonna be hard to be with me because maybe I don't have a lot of money, or maybe I'm gonna be gone all the time.
Yeah.
Like now you want out. You know, once things get hard, you wanna bounce.
Right.
Yeah. I was kind of confusing the two because DVP is more about the relationship falling apart because of his drinking, and then Doubt is kind of about his coping with the breakup or coping with depression with more drinking, which is really healthy.
Yeah, it's probably one of the healthier coping mechanisms is just like pure alcoholism, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like you live to forget, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, I drink heavily before we record these podcasts because I just don't want to do it.
I mean, I'm doing it right now. You see,
oh, you're drinking?
Well, it's so hard to record these things because I got 40s taped to my hands, right? And I have to finish them before the podcast ends.
Yeah. I do that with 2 40 ounces of tea in each hand.
Dang,
just
dude.
down chamomile and get fucking...
Just get relax the fuck out.
Yeah, just get so chilled out.
I get so mellow, dude.
I had a friend, Andres, I don't know if you ever met him, but he asked me how high I get before we record these episodes, and I'm just like, I can't, dude. I don't. He was like, oh, you guys sound comfortable. Like, I assumed that you were both smoking. I'm just like, no, neither of us are. And I think it would make it, I am surprisingly not nervous before we record these because it does kind of feel like we're just talking.
Yeah, sure.
Like, I don't think there's any like expectation, but I feel like if I smoked, I would get really nervous.
I feel like I'd be doing myself a disservice if I like smoked or drank or anything, because I want to like, you know, be focused and try to nail everything I want to talk about. And if it's getting too relaxed and we're getting like off topic and I can't remember things, then I would just...
Oh, we're being quiet?
Yeah. Like I would feel crappy about that. You know?
Yeah. That's it, because it's one or two things for me when I'm smoking is I either get really quiet and very introspective, so I just get kind of like I don't want to talk, or I get super talkative and I'm already talkative. So I'm a verbose motherfucker. So if I get in that certain level of like highness,
there's no stopping it.
I'll just go off, dude. And then it's not a conversation anymore. It's me yelling over you.
Well, I think this can lead well into fans really requested this segment. We got huge uproar. How high were you when you were listening to this album, Lucas?
Oh, you know, I love the fans. I love that they ask for this. I think it is an important thing to talk about.
Yeah.
I think
we need to normalize it in society.
We need to realize that it makes everything better.
Yes.
Including listening to music.
Yeah.
But I will be honest, I was stone sober every time I listened to this.
Wow. Okay.
But it would be great when you're high.
Okay. That was my next question is, do you think it'd be better if you were high? Or, I mean, this isn't really an album you listen to high, right? Like, this is pretty in your face.
Yeah, you know, I honestly was thinking about that before we started recording, that there's a part of stoner culture that I don't like stoner culture. I don't like weed culture a lot. I think it's misrepresented a lot, and I think stoners make stoners look bad.
Sure.
So I think to me, everything is part of the culture if you're doing it if you enjoy it when you're high. So making really good food to me is part of stoner culture. Like drinking really good wine or like a really good beer or a really good like bottle of whiskey or something, that is part of stoner culture. Like,
yeah.
So music is a huge part, obviously. And to me, it's like, if I already like pop punk, so why wouldn't I like it when I'm stoned? I listen to metal when I'm high. Like it's anything that I already like in my sober state, I'm gonna like high. So yeah, no, this would be a great record high. But I will say, I don't usually pay a lot of attention to like production and tone, and I don't always like comment on it.
Yeah.
To me, very few times do I hear a record that to me is either like, this sounds so good, like The Resignation.
Right.
And I was like, this is just something about this that is just so, it sounds so good. And rarely also do I listen to something, except maybe a live record. I hate live records, but rarely do I listen to an album and I go, oh my God, the production is horrible, unless it's like 1970s punk music or something. You know?
Yeah, no, I'm the same way, honestly. Like, it's very hard for me to notice that stuff unless it's, I don't know, like Toto or, you know, or just
That's
some.
so random.
Here's the thing, man. In sound
Do they have
school,
amazing production?
They're gods. They are gods.
Oh, really?
Really. There's that one album, Aja, I think it's called Aja. I could be.
I know Africa, so they have a song. They have an album called Asia.
It's.
They're all over the place.
They're going all over the town.
They're the world's band.
Oh God,
In Dominican Republic, Toto means vagina.
It's nice.
Yeah.
Sick.
Just a little. Yeah, like I don't know if you ever noticed in a lot of public restrooms, the brand of the toilets is called Toto.
Toto.
And my dad used to laugh anytime we were at the movies and we'd go to pee because he would be like, haha. That means vagina. Like,
Nice.
At least you never grow up, right, Dad?
Oh God, is it Steely Dan?
You're trying to find album name.
Steely Dan who I'm thinking about?
Oh, okay.
But Toto.
Steely Dan is one of those bands that when I listen to them, I'm like, wow, the production is just like next level. Like the warmth is what I noticed in Steely Dan. That's what I noticed on Resignation.
Toto also has fantastic stuff, but no, Aja by Steely Dan is like heralded as one of like the best produced albums of all time. It's used as basically like the benchmark in sound school, and so
that was what gave me a lot of appreciation for Steely Dan was, like I said, I don't normally call out production or really pay attention to it, but that was one thing that I noticed immediately. I'm like, why does this sound so good?
Yeah. You can
with a good pair of headphones, it's amazing.
You could just hear it. You know, you can't pinpoint why, but you can just hear it, and you just say to yourself, like, this is special.
It's like pleasing to my ear, and that's when I know that the production has something to call out. Because if I'm enjoying listening to it just because of the sensation that it's giving me when I listen
just
to it,
just the way it wiggles your little eardrums.
Ooh, it just kind of fucking flicks my bean a little bit. Yeah, you like that.
This album doesn't have quite that well of production.
No, that's what I was getting at. Was I don't normally call that out, and especially in the negative, but that is my only note or my only like gripe about this record is that the tone is not great. It's a lot of high end and not enough low end. And it was the same when I played it on my stereo. I have nice stereo speakers. It was just very high end, very trebly, and it was the same thing listening to it on headphones. It was a little better on some nice stereo headphones, like over the ear.
I could see that for sure.
Yeah.
It's sometimes it's very hard to pick out where the bass is.
Yeah, I didn't hear the bass. I only heard the bass on one of the songs where it's isolated and they distorted it. So it's like it has its own moment in that song. But yeah, I don't typically I don't pay attention to tone. Like I don't get a tone bone when I listen to like a really, like I never thought about it growing up.
Yeah.
But
no, I mean, we all know about the tone bone.
Yeah, but I kind of lost my bone when I was thinking about production, listening to this album. That was my only complaint.
I mean,
do you concur?
I see what you're saying, but honestly, I don't think it retracts so much from the album. I do think it could use a little more low end, but it just kind of makes it sound raw and just a little annoying, which might have been what they were going for.
It is a little.
It's a little snotty.
Yes, for sure. Yeah, I totally agree on that. It could use more low end, and to me, you really notice it on the cymbals of the drums. They're scratchy at times, and I do enjoy the rawness of a lot of types of music. So again, I loved this album, but that was my only complaint.
All right.
Like I would have to set my EQ in a certain way on my stereo to feel like it sounds like the way I want it to.
Sure.
I want to get a tone bone.
Hey man, what you do in private is your own business. All right.
Brett, next album you pick, make sure I get a bone.
Well, we'll see. Hey, we'll see about the next album you pick. Is the next album you pick going to give me a tone bone?
I don't think it will.
No. Yeah. So
that one also needs more bass. I've thought that forever, but we're not going to reveal what that is yet.
That's for the end of the episode.
I want to get to one of my favorite songs on the album.
Yes.
Sleep in the Heat.
Sleep
Track
in
number
the
4.
Heat. I think
that
was
is the
single.
one where his voice, I was like, oh boy. It almost sounds like he's joking the way he's singing.
Yeah, for sure. This, I think they had a music video for this one that Finn Wolfhard was in.
Shit. I heard about that a long time ago.
I think it was a little viral. Because it was like Finn Wolfhard and a dog, and that's a killer combination.
Fucking Finn Wolfhard, man. One of the luckiest kids in the world. His band is, I can't listen to that music, but they were on Jimmy fucking Kimmel.
Yeah.
Because he's Finn Wolfhard. His two friends in that band are they're even luckier than he is.
Well, yeah,
just for knowing
sure.
this fucking kid.
I mean, yeah. Well, let's not get into that.
Okay.
Let's not get into his van.
You're getting me angry. But yeah, no, I really liked the beginning of Sleep in the Heat. It felt the guitars were doing like a little Latin-y, and again, a little more Latin feels.
Dude, I love.
Yeah,
I love the lead guitarist as well.
He does good work, man. And again, he's kind of like the drummer. He's understated.
Yeah, it's weird. Like, how can these guys be so loud yet so understated? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, you would listen to the album and you wouldn't really think twice. But even in the last song, In Doubts, like he had a really good part, and it's a little janky. It might be a little Latin-y, but it definitely sounds. It doesn't sound a lot like many other lead guitar parts you would hear.
Yeah, I agree. I think the guitar work and the drum work separates these guys from a lot of other pop punk that I used to listen to because of those two things. Like, they are doing a lot of things that you wouldn't find in this type of music often. And it's nice. It's a very welcomed change. I love to hear that those types of influences in a song that you wouldn't expect to hear it. Like, I love when a metal song, breaks down in the middle of it, and all of a sudden they're playing a classical guitar and they're playing like a flamenco thing. I'm like, I love that shit.
It's beautiful, dude.
Clearly, I love that shit because RX Bandits does that stuff all the time, where they bring in 5 different genres of music and they blend it all together, and then it's just RX Bandits. Like, I feel like PUP is pop punk, but they're PUP punk.
Pop punk. I'm sure they never heard that before.
I was gonna say, there's no way I'm the first person who have thought of that. Tone Bone and PUP punk.
So this song's in 6/8.
It
Sleep
is?
in the Heat. Yeah.
I never would have thought that. I know the drums are doing a little more. I don't even know. I never would have thought this was in 6/8. I thought it's so easy to just bob your head to.
Yeah. Yeah. And 6/8 is probably like the next easiest time signature to bob your head to. And I think that's the one they usually go to. But they do it in a way. They're like RX Bandits, like Rush. They can do these odd time signatures, and you could go through the album like Lucas did without even realizing it.
Yeah, for real. But now that I'm listening to it right now, because I actually was able to put it on YouTube. I hope I don't get cutouts on my mic, but I do hear it. Dun 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 dun. That waltzy.
Yeah, that dun.
Yeah, I hear the 6/8 now, and you really don't notice it. It just sounds like it's like any other song on the record. But I love the part at the end with all the little like communal whoa going on. Whoa.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's a nice little addition. And it's, again, like you want to see this in a bar. This is like bar music, and I would never have thought that. I could picture so many people like
bar-core, dude,
with their steins and just
with their ale and their mead.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, I think
bar-core.
Bar-core. Oh my god, hardcore barcore.
Hardcore barcore, dude.
Yeah, and it took me a long time to realize that he was talking about a pet chameleon
Yeah.
that died
yeah,
after he
right?
paid for a really expensive surgery or something.
Another thing you do not hear, like you'll hear about, dog songs, but a chameleon song?
Yeah, chameleon song, and it's such a great title for the song. And it took me. I feel stupid when
Yeah,
it takes me
right?
this long to realize this shit. But "Sleep in the Heat" is such a great song to write about your pet chameleon that died. Such a great
Yeah.
title.
And it's a chameleon, which is not a traditional pet, and you wouldn't think someone would be so emotional about it, but he really gets across
Yeah.
how special this pet was to him.
Yeah.
You hear it in his voice, like you said earlier, and like the last lines, how he would spend all of his savings and loans just to see you again, but I know I won't. And you can almost
It's sad, man.
it's a heartbreaking end.
It really, really
song.
is. Yeah, once I realized what he was talking about, it just makes you think about all the, pets that you've lost, and you're like, God, it doesn't matter if it's a dog or a chameleon or a fucking bird. You get so connected. It's
Yeah.
I can see getting a connection with the chameleon. I see people posting pictures of their pet fucking rats, and I can't stand rats, but when I look at them, I'm just like, oh,
And,
so cute. That's a cute.
and at the end of the, yeah. I mean, it doesn't matter, man. This guy was emotional. He felt so strongly about this chameleon. He had to write a song about it. Kind of, maybe it was a form of relief for him. Maybe it helped him get through it a little bit.
For sure, man. Writing a song about anything heavy that you're going through is a form of therapy.
Yeah.
For sure.
Also, this is "Sleep in the Heat" is also one of my favorite songs on the album. But I mean, there's not a bad song on the album.
There really isn't. There's one song that I didn't necessarily like that much.
Can I guess what it is?
Yeah.
"My Life Is Over and I Couldn't Be Happier."
No, I like it. I like that one.
Okay, which one is it?
Honestly, the last song.
Really?
Yeah.
Pine.
I liked it because it was like a traditional closer. It was like a slower, quiet song.
Yeah.
I just didn't. I think his voice and the energy of the band, the energy wasn't there on the last song. So and I get it, you're ending the album, but to end it on on a soft note, I don't think is like the best way to go out for an album like this.
I completely disagree with you.
I'm a little upset.
Well, you can be upset all the way to the bank.
Yeah,
Sir.
well, I'm going to be upset for the next 45 minutes until we finally talk about that fucking song.
And we will get there.
Yeah,
But
Sleep in the
let's,
Heat's great, man. Very. I can say this about every song except the last one. So aggressive, but so catchy and so fun to listen to. And you don't realize that it's heavy themes.
Well, let's make our way to the coast, man.
That was an interesting song. The annotations on that one, like the background of what he's talking about, really, really interesting. They're Canadian, I'm guessing.
Yes, they are Canadian.
Yeah. Did you know what DVP was named after?
The Dark Valley Parkway, right?
Yeah, some sort of freeway or highway in Canada.
Yeah,
Just thought that was an
sense.
interesting little tidbit.
Yeah. But yeah, this is apparently I'm gonna say it wrong. All right, do you have it open on Genius? It's an old story to tell kids not to go near, on thin ice. It's an Inuit story.
Yeah, it's based off an old Inuit folk story, which is called "A Promise Is a Promise," which I think is a cool story title about children that get dragged down in the ocean by monsters when fishing alone.
Yeah.
So the whole point of the story is to teach kids to be careful around thin ice, especially in the spring. And it was an interesting thing that he was talking about in the song too, where this lake gives you life, but it also takes it away.
I love that line. Yeah.
Really, really interesting.
It's really interesting how he does this on Pine Point as well, where he kind of puts himself into this story.
Yeah, it's not exactly autobiographical.
No, I mean, it maybe parts of it are, but this is just him telling someone else's story, telling it from someone else's point of view, and he does it. I think he does it well. He really doesn't have many lines to get across these things, but I think he makes the most of these lines.
Man, so many group vocals too. Like they usually they reserve them for the choruses or the bridges, but in this one it's almost like a rap song. It reminds me of that. He has a certain every few lines or whatever, then he has a group vocal singing that next line with him. And I think it adds a lot of energy. The drums are really cool in this too, all the toms.
Yeah. I love them, man.
Great guitar work too.
And
they're all over the place.
Those group vocals on the verse just kind of give it a more eerie feel. I feel like this is probably the most eerie, maybe not disturbing, but kind of off-putting song on the record.
Yeah, the guitars are playing a little like how do you say it? Like dissonant?
Yeah, dissonant. Just kind of very like creepy ambient kind of noises. Maybe not even notes, just noises.
Yeah, the part right before one of the only solos that you find on the record.
Yeah,
is on this, and yeah, the part right before the two guitars are playing. It's two guitars, right, or is it one?
They're two guitars.
Yeah, they're playing like slightly different notes, like maybe a half step up or down from each other. So it does give it this like they're combating those two notes. So it makes you it does a really cool trick on the brain that you're like, I don't like this. Like you're not supposed to like it, but then you do.
Yeah, and it just gets across this eerie, this desolate fishing town where, you know, people go missing in this lake.
Yeah.
You know, and this song does what I think we tried to do for one of our songs off Look Alive.
What we tried to do.
We did it. But
well, which song?
It's the one where you were like, yeah, I want it to be silent for some parts, and then we all come in. Oh, goodness.
That's like every song. I want to do that on every song.
You're gonna make me look up "Look Alive" by Mortale.
I'm fact checking you.
But they're very soft in moments, and then they come in hard, and that guitar riff. These guys are amazing at riffs, and just oh, it's so dreary and like looming and doomy, and
the riff on this song is great. The dude, like it's all over the place, and it does kind of add to the chaotic feel a little bit to it.
Yeah,
and I love this is one of the songs that he pushes his vocal range to the like not like on Sleep in the Heat, where he's singing really high but he's singing soft to where it sounds a little goofy. He's singing high in his range, but he's screaming it.
Yeah,
it's dragging me down, like
down
it's so
the valley, down the body. Oh, so good, dude. That's the kind of stuff that his voice works perfect for.
That's what I want to hear him do from now on. And no big fucking surprise. He had a nodule in his throat or something like that. That's so straining on your voice. If you don't know how to do that correctly, ooh, that'll fuck you up. The singer of Avenged Sevenfold had to get all these, I don't even know, about all these like nodules or some shit removed from his vocal cords because he was a screamer in the early days of Avenged Sevenfold, and then he became a fucking Iron Maiden copycat. But it was that was his reasoning. He was like, well, I don't scream anymore because I almost destroyed my vocal cords. And then I think it came out a few years later that he admitted that wasn't true, and he said he just wanted to stop screaming because they didn't like they felt like they were pigeonholing themselves in a certain level of like fame that you can get at. So they wanted to be on the radio, so they stopped screaming.
Huh. I didn't know about that.
That was disappointing for me because I love early Avenged Sevenfold. And then I heard, City of Evil, and it eventually grew on me, and I absolutely love it, but I can't listen to anything that they've done since. And it's because they're not the same band anymore. But it's, this dude is, on this song especially, I noticed it, that he is just at the very edge of his range.
Yeah.
And I love when singers do that.
Matt
Embry does that all the time.
Yeah. I feel like there's a part on the like on the 7th song where he kind of does that, and it doesn't sound so good.
Yeah.
Where he's like, when
Yeah,
I
on My
came
Life Is Over.
home right now, what would I find? Where it's like, all right.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It can get a little too whiny, but when he's screaming, it exudes so much emotion.
Yeah.
He could be saying anything, and I would believe him, and I'd think that he's fucking feeling it.
Speaking of emotion, let's go to Old Wounds.
Oof,
which
that's the most aggressive song so far on the record.
Oh yeah, I think it's
so loud,
the most raw, in your face, aggressive, pounding, crunchy, nasty song. In all the best ways.
Yeah, for sure, because it's all that, but it's still really, really catchy.
Yeah, and and there's a lot of gang vocals in it as well.
As like every song.
Yeah, as every song, of course. They love their gang vocals.
They also have that song, especially sounds the most fuzzy and raw of any of the songs on the record.
There's a lot of parts of like feedback happening. You know.
I love the it seems to be about like a clingy ex is what the song's about, like an ex that just keeps fucking coming back and won't leave you alone. So I love the line, want to know if I'm still a prick? Well, I am. Like screams it. I'm like, I love that. That's what makes, I love the tongue-in-cheekness where this dude is like so honest, but it's like he's talking about really heavy shit, but the way he talks about it, it's enjoyable to listen to. You're not getting depressed from it.
Yeah. There's still a little humor in there, just enough so that he can step back a little bit from this and maybe not have like an emotional breakdown every show.
Yeah, I know. This must be such a great release for him. Like, on the songs that are personal to him, and he's not kind of placing himself into a narrative. This is this is a fucking release. Old Wounds is a release because he's talking about like why do you keep ripping up old wounds, right?
What was that?
He's talking about like why do you keep ripping up old wounds? Like you keep like hurting, like you keep bringing all this shit up, and you keep like this ex is coming back, and she's like, my shitty new boyfriend, and he's coming back, and he's like, why did I fucking take you back? Like you're like we didn't work either, obviously for like some reason, and why are we trying this again?
Yeah, and in the bridge where he says like I'm trying to get straight why the fuck I came back in the first place, it seems like he's also contributing, like he's also kind of going back. Yeah,
like codependence.
It's kind of like a toxic relationship that neither of them can get away from.
Yeah, like they can't quit each other.
Yeah,
I can't quit you.
Can't quit you.
And this is another one that very stream of consciousness lyrics at times, with not a lot of concern over like is this rhyming or does this fit or whatever. He's like, this is the line.
I feel like they wrote this song probably in the span of like 10 to 15 minutes. He just came in the studio, in the practice space, and he was like, I'm fucking pissed. Let's just, you know?
Yeah, and the guitars are all over the place too. Like they're all,
for sure.
They're all on the exact same page on this song, where the guitars are playing notes that don't even seem to be in the same key.
Yeah.
But it sounds so good.
They make it work.
Somehow they make it work. That is like a sign of musicianship, is when you can. How many bands have you heard or songs that you've heard that is really aggressive, or it is really angry, or it is really dissonant, but just because it's all of those things doesn't mean it's good. It doesn't mean that they play it well either.
And PUP, they're able to keep control of this stuff, right? Like they're able to reel it in, and it's not like this stuff is getting away from them. Like they're able to keep this chaos kind of in the palm of their hands, you know?
Yeah.
And they're able to form this craziness into stuff that can be catchy and maybe even accessible.
I think it is accessible for anyone that likes, for any fan of rock music. I don't think this would be an album that someone who listens to mainly pop music, I don't think they would like this.
They might like one or two songs on the album, but
Yeah.
probably not the whole thing.
No, I think this is definitely you have to enjoy loud, aggressive music to like this, despite how catchy and fun it is.
Yeah.
It's still a very loud record, which again is not what I expected. I didn't expect it to be this happy and this angry.
So for the next song, they do kind of clean up the guitars a little. Like it's a bit of a smoother
great
tone, you know. I love the way they kind of switch between these songs, because The Coast was, kind of a slow but hard hitting song, and then Old Wombs comes in, which is just raw, fast, hard. My Life Is Over, with those that kind of clean distortion, that iconic PUP lead guitar doing whatever it feels like doing.
Yeah, this could easily be on like an American Pie soundtrack.
It's true.
Yeah. This is probably one of the most accessible songs on the record because it's so catchy. Like this could be in a Disney original movie.
But it's about something not so family friendly.
No, he talks about being so drunk he can't get a hard on.
Yeah. Apparently the backstory for this song is that his girlfriend caught him jacking off in his room.
I saw that.
And it like tore a rift between them for some reason. So like that's like the backstory. I don't know why it would do that. I don't know why your girlfriend would be so pissed off at you just jacking off.
Dude, you'd be surprised. A lot of people
Really?
take that personally, especially if you're in a relationship. Because if you're jerking off and your girlfriend's home, then it's like you'd rather jerk off than have sex with me.
Well, maybe that's what this song's about.
Yeah, so I saw that too, and I saw that someone else basically questioned that analysis, and they were just like, "Where in the song are you putting this together that he was caught jerking off?" Like I couldn't, from reading the lyrics, I couldn't put it together either. All I could put together is that she came home and he was drunk again, and she was like, "God damn it, like you're fucking drunk again." That's what I got from it.
I mean,
you were
that's
home
what
and I was
got.
jerking off upstairs, and I was so drunk that I forgot you were home. Maybe his girlfriend came home and she wanted to get a little sexy, and he was so drunk he couldn't do it, because in that line he says, what is it? "I can't drive. I can barely stand. Forget getting it up."
Yeah.
So it might be that he's just fucking wasted again, and his girlfriend's like, "Great, I'm not gonna get any bone tonight." Keep using the
No
word bone. I
bone.
gotta move on.
No tone bones tonight.
Yeah, no tone bones for her. But that's another. Yeah, that's it's a really short song too, but it's very. I feel like I can't say it enough. It's the same thing on the Run the Jewels record, where we're just like, oh, the beats are so good, they're so hype. It's the same thing with this album, where it's just like, oh, they're so catchy, I can't get over it. Like every song's so catchy.
It's just, the gang vocals that happen on nearly every chorus help kind of reel you in, to sing them along. That helps with the catchiness. The guitar's usually always catchy.
His melodies are great.
His melodies are great. They got it all, man.
Yeah, this is a really solid rock record, and
For sure.
as it played out, I think because of the themes and because a lot of the melodies and the ways that they write the songs, it can be considered pop punk, but I don't think it is.
Honestly, I would just consider it punk.
Yeah,
I would just say punk, because it's aggressive. They're angry. They're talking about, what's on their minds without any hesitation. And if it's catchy, then it's catchy. But I don't think that alone makes it pop punk.
no, and I think the melodies, the way he sings is very pop punk. The nasally, whiny, high pitched voice.
Sure.
But it's not pop punk to push that voice to the limit to where you're screaming.
That's where the more hardcore side of punk comes in.
Yeah, it's really original music, to be honest. Like I was looking up related artists and I didn't know any of them except maybe Jeff Rosenstock. I'd heard of him. I think I've heard a couple songs by him, but like they are in a certain subgenre that I don't know anything about. This because you call this punk, but it's not Fat Records to get. You know, it's
Sure.
it's not punk like that.
Yeah.
It's not hardcore. It's not Newfound Glory. It's definitely really unique, and I understand because I started hearing about these guys maybe 3-4 years ago, which is probably when this album came out. And I think that's I understand now why they got so much recognition, because I wasn't even in this scene. I wasn't listening to this type of music a lot 4 years ago.
Yeah.
And I understand now, listening to it, why they blew up as much as they did. Why I was hearing them from people and from I wasn't seeking these guys, but I was hearing about them all over the place.
Yeah.
Yeah, on the next song, Can't Win, that was the one where I was like, I have to call out the drums. Like, I finally have to give this guy props. The drums are incredible on this song.
This is a very special song to me. Can't Win.
Yeah?
It's the song. I was just like driving around listening to this album. It'd been like the 6th or 7th time I've listened to this album. It was not my first listen. And this song came on, and I had to pull over and cry. Just because the lyrics finally got me. You know, they finally got to me. This song in particular.
I connect with the lyrics a lot too.
I mean, it's kind of a loser's anthem, isn't it? You know? Like
that's not how I see it. I don't see it as a loser's anthem. I see it as someone who knows that they're not made for for traditional life. That they're not wired for that. So, because, yeah, it's his line about, like, I couldn't live with my 9 to 5. And he's like, I don't know if I'm going to make it doing this, but I know I can't be happy doing that. And that is something I connect with really, really deeply.
Right.
And that's the journey I'm in right now. And maybe was that what you were dealing with when the song finally hit you, or like, why did it hit you so hard? Because you're not a loser. So I don't think it was like a song that you realized you were a loser finally.
Well, I mean, it's a combination of like listening to the song enough that I'm finally like comprehending the lyrics. For some reason, it takes me a couple listens before I can actually figure out what the dude's saying in the first place. And
same.
I don't know. Maybe I was just like at Sam's Club after some kind of 8 or 10 hour shift, and
Jesus.
You know, I just want to be something. Never thought I'd be nothing at all. And the chorus comes in, feels like I can't win. I'm growing up and I'm giving in, which is the line that broke me.
Yeah, man, that's I feel it. I definitely
and it's starting to hurt.
Totally understand. Yeah, I totally understand. It is that kind of like, yeah, that realization that you're just like, oh man, being a kid and thinking about like what life as an adult is going to be like. So rarely does it become what you expected or hoped that it would.
For sure. Yeah.
But the great thing about it is that you do get to have more control over your life after a while. Like once you kind of become financially independent, which does take sacrifice, because a lot of times you just end up having to get a job that you don't want to have, but you got to start making your own money.
Yeah.
Once you kind of start becoming financially independent, then you can make whatever decision you want after a while. It might be a risk that you're taking, but that's your risk to take. You don't have someone telling you to not do it, or that they don't approve. You know, so it is kind of like you, as a kid, you get to have all these like little fantasies that most likely are not going to come true. But as an adult, you have more opportunities to actually make those fantasies come true.
Yeah.
But I definitely, I was feeling this song on a very personal level also, because I've had those moments where I drive up to my desk job, or, you know, I drive up for the 3rd year in a row, I'm working in a cubicle. And yeah, dude, I've had many moments like before walking into work where I cry in my car. And I'm just like, I can't believe I'm going back to this thing. I can't believe like I'm like, you feel stuck. And it is kind of like a really tough part of growing up.
Yeah, because you expect when you're a kid to be like the other kids who get famous, or like in high school,
Right.
you expect to be one of like Kurt Cobain or something.
Yeah, I'm gonna be the one that does make it.
Yeah,
You know.
yeah, but
Yeah.
most of us aren't gonna be that, and that's just there are billions of people on this world, and only a few of them, get to the status that you believe you're gonna get to.
I think I read somewhere that you have a better chance of winning the lottery than you do of becoming famous. That I think more what they were talking about was you have a better chance of winning the lottery than you do at becoming really famous and successful as a musician.
Well, yeah, that makes sense.
I mean, how many bands have you heard that you're like, these aren't even this is objectively bad music?
Well,
how are they?
Yeah.
how are they getting this level of attention? And how many bands, even local bands, have you heard that deserve what those other guys have? And
Yeah.
these dudes that might just be playing at the local bar every Friday night are way more talented than 90% of the shit that you hear on the radio.
Yeah. It's just kind
and
of,
you realize how lucky you have to be.
it's just unfair, and that's all it is. That's just life.
Yeah, and I think a big thing now that's changing is people are taking this shit into their own hands. How many people are massively popular and famous on Spotify that are not signed to a label?
Yeah, that's true. We have the
Like rap is leading the way.
We have the means to completely DIY more so than ever before.
I think Radiohead was one of the first big bands that I ever saw do something like that, where they just released their own album and they said, you know what, pay us if you want. If you don't, just download it. We don't care. We just want to put this out. And so some people paid nothing, and some people paid $100 because they wanted to give Radiohead $100 because they love them, and that is like the new frontier that we're on, where people are becoming successful 100% on their own.
Yeah.
And like the age of the entrepreneur is, obviously COVID fucked up a lot of people's plans.
Yeah.
But I think what a result of this COVID shit being over is that entrepreneurship is just going to blow the fuck up. All these people are sitting around, either they had their business fail or they're trying to start their own thing. And we have nothing but time to think about what the fuck we want to do with our lives now.
That's true. Yeah.
So many people are stuck at home.
That
we started this podcast because of this shit.
That's true. You could say that we're doing it right now.
I honestly feel like I am. Like this might not be what becomes my thing, but this is a step in the right direction. I'm trying something new.
Yeah, we're doing something. We're actually putting something out, which is better than just holding it tight to your chest and never letting it go, And I think
we're not waiting for anyone to tell us that we can put this podcast, or we're not waiting for anyone to give us a deal.
Yeah.
We're doing it on our own. And it's something that I genuinely care about and like I genuinely enjoy. That's not something that I get out of my day job.
It's true. It's something that you can look at, you put out there, and you can be proud of. And we did it ourselves, man. Just you and me. We're like, you were like, we should make a podcast. I said, I'm in. And here we are. We're on episode 3, like a couple weeks later. It was all us.
Yeah, I think I was even thinking about this before we started recording. Like I wanted to give you credit for being one person that I know, and there are a few that like are close with me in my life, but you are one of the people that like you follow through with any idea that we've had. You are one of the people that I know I can rely on to follow through with it. And that's like a philosophy that I have held on for a long time, that I'm like, I'm not going to say I'm going to do something and then not do it, because a lot of people talk shit and are too lazy to go actually try it. And I think the fact that like we're on episode 3, we've been recording this for 3 weeks, we're staying consistent, we have like a really good like partnership on this, and it's just, and I don't know how many other people I could be doing this with.
Aww.
It really is like you get a lot of props in our house for being, and you execute and you stick with it. And that is a trait that's going to get you to where you want to be, because a lot of people just want to talk and they want things handed to them. And that's not how shit works.
Yeah.
You got to go and get it. And I think that's like, this is a step in the right direction. And I don't expect this to be the end all be all, but I expect this to lead to something else.
Well, you know, I got it from my mama. my
that and that butt.
Honestly, like she's the most hard working person I've ever seen in my entire life, and I just think like, God, if I could just be like 10% as hardworking as her, then, you know, maybe something can happen. And I've seen far too many things just go by the wayside, and ever since even middle school, you know, I was trying to start a band and get stuff out, and people are like, yeah, I'll do it, and then they never really stick through. And that's why I'm glad you suggested it, man, because that's why I just really don't ask people to do that kind of stuff anymore,
right?
Because
you've been burned a few too many times.
It's, you know, it's starting
you get
to
disappointed,
hurt,
right?
As Pup would say.
Yeah, you get it's hard to, because so many ideas that I want to do, I do need someone else to do it with me. I'm not a self-starter in that way. Like, it does help when you have someone else keep you accountable, and be someone else to help. So like I think that's huge. And I've tried so many things on my own, and I realize how much work it is, and I'm just like, man, I don't know if I'm passionate enough to do this. And then I try and do it with other people, and it's so hard to rely on people.
Well, that's
so like, yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
That's kind of why I really loved Mortales. And when I first entered the band, y'all practiced 2 days a week, which y'all had no idea was absolutely like, no one does that.
6 hours a week.
But I never objected, because I thought, well, if they're practicing twice a week, that means they're getting stuff done, you know? And like, whenever it came to music stuff, we could always rely on each other for that, and that was great.
Yeah, you had 4 guys who were really dedicated.
Yeah. And you know,
like, believed in what we were doing.
Yeah, for sure. That might be the most important part, is actually like believing in what you were doing and actually putting some effort, putting some weight and responsibility into it, instead of being, you know, 3 steps back away from it and be like, if it happens, it happens.
Yeah.
We worked for it. Not, you know, right now we can't really do much about it.
Everything's on pause right now.
Everything's on pause, but I know that if it all ended tomorrow, we would get back next week, and we would go at it with the same amount of fervor as 100%. Before.
Yeah, 100% agree. Yeah, man, I think and I don't blame you. Like, when you left Sam's and you're fucking listening to this to Can't Win, and you're like, God damn, what the fuck am I doing at Sam's? Like, what am I, you know?
Personally, ever since literally 6th grade, I wanted to be in a band and make this music, and I've been working for it until now, you know. And it's just like, when we have things to show for it. We have albums and stuff, but it can get very hard when it doesn't really work out how you want it to. We can't make a living off it. Like, my original goal was to get famous, and then it was just to make a living off it. And
yeah, you're like, I'll settle with just being able to make money and live like comfortably, even if it's in an apartment. Like, I'm okay with that.
Yeah, like I'm not a person that's like, ooh, I'm gonna get my riches. But if I can just like make my living from playing music, then that's all I could ever ask for. You know,
you don't want to wake up in a new Bugatti?
I'm not trying to wake up in a new Bugatti.
Yeah, I think the older you get, and you might be like going through that also, it's like you realize that you're okay with a simpler life, as long as you get to do what you enjoy.
Yeah. But
It's not done, man. I'm almost 10 years older than you, and I'm trying, So it's
Yeah,
like, to
yeah.
me, like, I'm super excited about this podcast. I'm super excited about the album reviews I'm doing. I'm excited about this, fake radio show I'm hosting and everything, because all of it to me is just like, this is all surrounding music, which is something that I love and I want to be involved in one way or another. And I did realize during our time in Mortalis that I was like, maybe playing music is not how I'm going to be involved in this. Maybe that's not what's going to be my thing, because I'm not the most talented person anyway, but like musically, but
whatever.
I'm not, whatever. I compare myself to the three of you guys in the band, and I'm just lucky to be here. But I think a big thing is just like, man, if I can find a way, I've said this to a lot of people too, that it's like, go for what your dream is, and then be okay with realizing that it's probably not going to end up being that. But the fact that you're going for that, the fact that you're like pursuing that, you're going to get something out of it.
Mm-hmm.
It might not be becoming a famous musician, but you might be the fucking go-to guy for any big studio album that someone needs a really good drummer, and then you become that guy, and you live comfortably and no one knows your name, but you get to play music all day.
But maybe, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's just like, if you're doing something that you enjoy and you're living comfortably, then that's all I'm looking for.
Yeah.
And I felt that in this song a lot, and Can't Win. I've felt that a lot.
We were playing a show. We were going to a show in Fredericksburg, I think, and I was driving with Michael, and we were just kind of talking about some life stuff and just talking about it. And I was just thinking, like, like he had felt like he kind of knew what direction his life was going from then on, that he wouldn't be doing the recording studio stuff he thought he'd be doing. And I thought, like, well, your life's not over yet. You still got plenty of time to do all this stuff. You don't know what's happening. And, I'd think back at that moment, because I think, well, if I'm saying that stuff to him, I might as well say that stuff to me.
Totally.
And so that'll do ya sometimes.
Dude, you got to be your biggest cheerleader.
Yeah.
No one's going to do it for you.
Yeah, for sure.
And no one's going to just hand you shit. I think, you've been doing so much stuff on your own also, and it's like, eventually, like, you work hard and you have the talent to back it up. Eventually something's going to come out of it, but you just don't know what it is yet. But man, I was there at the same age that you are, working in a job that I fucking hated, and every morning just like dreading having to go to work. And it was just like, and here I am, probably 8 years later, and in a way better place, but also in the same position that I don't want to do what I'm doing anymore in my career. So it's just like, now I got to figure something else out. And Luis put it really well, that he said, the emotions that you feel between anxiety and excitement is the same emotion. So it's the same set of emotions. So it's like, if you can rewire yourself to where, if you're feeling anxious or nervous, rewire your brain to feel that and perceive it as, I'm excited, then the fact that I don't know what the hell I want to do with my life, and then I get to that, I'm trying to figure out what I want to do, and I have to go like search for it, that to me is like, I'd rather be excited about, like, ooh, I wonder what it's going to be. Like, I wonder what I'm going to end up doing.
You could be excited about this new journey, this new adventure that you're going to go on.
Yeah. And to me, it's like, I would rather be excited about it than be nervous and be like, dude, I don't know what the fuck I'm going to do.
That's a great point.
Yeah. So he really like made an impact when he said that, because I had never thought of it that way, and it is true. You just rewire your brain, and it's like, instead of being scared of the unknown, it's like being excited to figure it out.
Yeah, for sure.
Ooh, we went on a.
Ooh. That I think that song deserves it. Because in the bridge as well, I feel like I connected with But maybe it's time to move on to familiar patterns.
Yeah, I think I just want to call it out that I love the line in Can't Win where he says, "I might die of this boredom if you don't kill me first." I love his lyrics.
He'll get you, man.
And a lot about like, killing and dying.
Well,
a lot of repeated themes of killing someone or being killed or dying.
It's a punk band.
Yeah.
We like to sound cool.
Yeah.
So familiar patterns. It's another one that this one is also a bit clean with the distortion, and in comes that lead guitar, and I don't know if he's just like strumming as fast as he can. He goes dun, 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 or like he has a weird effect on it. But
I think he's just plucking really fast.
That's what I was thinking. Yeah. I was like, is this like a different instrument or something? Or no, it's probably just him just slamming that guitar. I was
wondering if there was synth on this song.
As far as the credits go, I think there's only piano on the first song. And I think that's it for the additional instruments.
Damn. Yeah, because
which I didn't even know there was piano on the first song.
I didn't either.
I didn't notice that.
I've listened to this record 3 times and I don't think I noticed that.
I've listened to it a lot of times and I've never noticed. I only know it because there's a credit for it.
Yeah.
But in any case.
Yeah, this one, like, definitely I can, like, the guitar is just, like, plucking super, super fast, but I did think that it was, like, some weird synth playing over it.
Yeah.
And this is another, kind of breakup song.
Yeah. There are a lot of relationship songs on this album. You're totally right.
But this is also one that he calls out. I mean, the first line, he goes, "This business is really hard."
Yeah, well, I think that's the focus of this one is kind of the music business and how he kind of sees like his career, how he's kind of been taken advantage of in verse 1, and in the chorus how he kind of knuckles down and focuses on his music in the basement instead of rolling with the riffraff.
Yeah.
And how he is scared of kind of going back to that you can't go in your girlfriend.
Who, what, me?
Yeah, you talking to your girlfriend?
No, I was blowing kisses to my dog.
Oh.
He's just looking really cute right now. I looked over at him.
But he might be scared of like the resigning to not focusing so hard on this music just because it's so easy to give up. And so this is also kind of a personal song to me. Not as much as Can't Win, but
it's interesting. It kind of reminds me of when we were talking about the resignation, and you were saying that you felt like there was a pattern to how they kind of put these songs together. And I don't know if it's a mistake that Can't Win and Familiar Patterns, they're kind of talking about really similar concepts, that they're one right after the other.
Maybe so.
Like in Can't Win, he's saying I can't live with this 9 to 5, and then this next one he's saying, everyone used to say don't quit your day job. Well, fucking guess what? I never had one. So it's like this is all I got,
Yeah.
But did you see his quote on the annotations of this song?
No.
From the singer? It's pretty interesting. He says this song really sums up my past few years and maybe my whole life. I always thought that if I could just be in a touring band, I'd be a happy person. And yeah, I love what I do, but I've realized that doing something you love doesn't really change the kind of person you are. So like if you're unhappy or you're anxious, it doesn't fix the problem. It just distracts you from it for a bit. And I think that's another thing too, where I think a lot of people fall into that pattern where they're like, if only I had this, or if only I was famous, or if only I was rich, or if only I was, skinnier or whatever. You just think like, then I'd be happy, or then people would think I'm cool, and you think like a certain level of success or this thing that you want to attain, like it's just going to completely change the way that you feel about yourself and about life and everything. And rarely it does. Like that's just kind of who you are. So you got to find something that makes you happy.
And it's just, I mean, it's even now, even knowing that, it's still hard for me to look at these people that have all this money and seeing all the things they could do and like thinking of what I would do, and to think like, would that really not make me a little bit happier?
It's weird when you find out that really rich people are really unhappy.
Well, we're very unhappy about different things, I guess.
Well, I think the moral of that story is it's just like money doesn't give you happiness, and I think that's
I mean,
what a lot of people
money
don't
can buy
realize.
like a jet ski, so
Yeah, true. Money can't buy you happiness, but money can't buy you a jet ski.
money can buy you like a lot of Chuck E. Cheese tokens. So
I don't want the tokens. I want the tickets.
you can't pay for the tickets, Lucas.
Well, then what's the
You don't
point
have
of
that
going to
kind
Chuck
of
E.
money.
Cheese? Dude, if you had a certain amount of money, you could pay for the fucking tickets.
Just bribe the person in the back. Look, I know you got a stash somewhere.
Listen, I got $500,000.
But you don't want to buy like the plush or whatever. You don't want to buy the awards. You want to buy the tickets.
I want to buy the tickets so I feel like I earned that blow up shark.
Yeah, that makes
Give me
sense.
some sense of like I accomplished something, but I paid you to let me do it.
Yeah, but it was an accomplishment. You know, you paid someone, and that's an accomplishment in itself.
I get to post online and show a picture of my new inflatable shark and just go, look what I won.
Look what I paid tickets for, not money.
Yeah, that no one would even. This cost 200,000 tickets.
Y'all don't even understand
Yeah, can
how
y'all
much skill
fucking,
it takes to get that.
Do y'all have 200,000 tickets? I think not.
Did not think so.
Nope.
So are we ready to go to Pine Point?
Pine Point, is that the last song?
It is.
Yeah, Pine Point. It's the slowest one on the record for sure. Like
Yeah.
I was saying earlier, it feels more like a traditional closer to an album.
Mm-hmm.
You don't hear it that often anymore, though. I think that idea is kind of like I don't hear it as often anymore, where an album will close out with the ballad or with the slower song. Like a lot of times, it's just another track on the record.
I do love it when I've found that I think I like outros that are kind of more slow and solemn lately than I used to. And that didn't really affect anything on this album, because I listened to this before that preference developed.
Right.
But yeah, it's.
Do you think this album maybe gave you that? Like maybe that's something you got out of it and you didn't realize that you're just like, oh, maybe that's another reason why you liked this album so much.
Maybe it helped out.
Go off. Who's he
Go.
barking at?
Hey, let's go, Winston. Just anything.
Go off, Winston.
Literally anything moving in the front yard. That's what he's barking
Oh,
at.
that's at least that doesn't get annoying.
Only at 3 a.m.
Oh shit, he does it at 3 a.m.
There was a point. There was like 3 weeks when every night, like from 2 to 4 a.m., he was just barking at something. It was, you know what it was? It was like at 5 a.m., one of the elderly neighbors would go for a jog.
Okay.
And so Winston would bark at him every single time. And I got pissed at the guy. It's like, what are you going? He had a headlight cam on his forehead.
Oh my god.
So what are you doing, man? Just go later. Why you gotta be running at 5 a.m.?
Dude, I live in a pretty affluent neighborhood right now, and it is the most active neighborhood I've ever lived in. It's weird that, like, because I sometimes wake up at 6 a.m. or whatever, and I'm just like, fuck it, I'm just gonna get up and I'll walk my dog. The sun isn't even out yet. You would think that everyone would still be asleep. There's people biking and running and walking, and they're all, 50 or older. And I don't know if it's like a rich person thing or if it's an old person thing, but I lived in a very modest middle class neighborhood before this one. And if I saw two people on my walk, and even in the middle of the afternoon at 4 or 5 in the afternoon, when everyone's already home, if I saw two people while walking my dog, I'd be like, dude, what the fuck is everyone doing out? Like, this is weird. Now I fully expect to run into, and I'm not exaggerating, up to 30 people every time I walk my dog. Like, and that could be at 6 in the morning, and I'm having to dodge people, and they're having to go around me, and dogs want to interact, and I'm just like, why are all you people out? Like, you have huge, nice houses, and all you want to do is not be in them.
Well, honestly, I've lived at this house for years and years and years, and I've never seen more people out than right now, and it might be because of the pandemic.
I think I noticed that in my old neighborhood too. That all of a sudden, like, everyone was training for the Tour de France.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, like, quarantine starts, and it's just like, oh, I'm gonna pull
Everyone's
out my fucking bike.
See what's happening today.
Like, get the fuck, go home. Like, we're supposed to quarantine, and I'm only out because I have to walk my dog. I don't understand. I just don't. I obviously I love being outside, but I don't understand like how the richer the neighborhood gets, like the more people spend outside. It's a really weird like connection that I've been making.
It might just be because they feel safer with other rich people or something.
Oh yeah, no one wears masks. We're very insulated here. Like it feels like this little neighborhood is like our own little city. Everyone knows each other. No one wears masks, but because of that also no one keeps their distance. So it's like everyone's acting like everything's normal here. And it's really strange. It was really weird going from my old place to this place, and I'm just like, why do I have to, like, sometimes it legit looks like a parade just got let out. Like, why are there 7 people walking their dogs separately, all walking towards me right now? Like, what the fuck is happening in this neighborhood? But that's funny that that would drive me crazy if my dog was barking at shit at 3 a.m.
I mean, I'm glad it's over. For one way or another, that has stopped. But
my dog started doing some weird shit. Sorry.
This last song, let's get into it.
Yes, slow song.
You did
concept song, kind of, right?
Yeah,
like,
just like kind of like The Coast.
Yeah, he's putting himself into this narrative.
Yeah, the story that I'm sure you read on Genius is that he passed by a sign that said "Welcome to Pine Point," and there was just nothing there. Like it was all torn down, except for a cemetery. And he thought, like,
yeah, he talks about the roads being overgrown.
Yeah, and what a crazy concept it must be to grow up in this town your entire life, and then it gets demolished one day. And it's almost like
wasn't
you
it
had
that
no past.
Wasn't it that the mine closed or something?
Well,
there was a mine in this town and it closed, and then so everyone left.
That might just be him just putting some history behind this town that he knows nothing of. Like, I don't know if that's the real story of the real Pine Point. But
no, I don't think any of this is like, well, I guess some of it is rooted in reality, but he talks about his brother dying in a drunk driving accident, and then it turns out that he doesn't even have any brothers.
Yeah. Well, yeah, he just kind of puts himself in this place. He puts himself as a citizen of Pine Point, just growing up as a child in Pine Point. And the way he describes this like small town, older brother dying because him and his friend was wasted at the wheel, that there was a mine in 88, gives you a feeling of like kind of a very old school, desolate town, which apparently he loves talking about those desolate towns.
I feel like where he grew up in Canada seems kind of desolate from the sound of, from his lyrics.
Maybe. And so he's kind of channeling those feelings that you would have. And maybe some of this is a little autobiographical, but I couldn't tell you what, because I don't know the guy.
Yeah, I honestly, like, the way that the stuff that he talks about in all the songs, I don't know how much of this is actually autobiographical or just a way for him to get something out, like get some sort of release, and he just like writes it. You know, I've done that before where I've written songs about a really bad breakup that never happened. So I feel like that might be one of these things where he's just like he's putting himself in the shoes of someone else and then trying to channel that emotion, and he's just like, okay, I think this would make a really interesting song.
And I do think there are some lines, like the ending there, where he's like, I hope you know what you're doing after all. Like, I feel like there is emotion behind those lines, and he has a meaning for that it might not be present in this song, you know?
Right. Yeah, he that might have just been thrown in there.
And like, he has a relationship with those lyrics, but he doesn't. It's kind of just for him. Maybe.
I love that a lot too, and you know, this is one of the first times like doing this podcast with you that I try to analyze lyrics a lot.
Yeah.
I typically just sing along, and if I feel the emotion, I feel the emotion with them, and that's it. I don't really like think too much into it, but it's been fun reading into these lyrics of the last few episodes and trying to understand what they're getting across. And I feel like not a lot of artists allow themselves to be a little more vague, and this guy is pretty on the nose with what he's talking about.
For most of the album, it's not. It wasn't subtle at all.
Yeah, sounds like he's talking about one specific person to the point where he's about to say her name.
Yeah, for sure. But a song like this, it's a little different. This
is an interesting one, and unfortunately, my least favorite.
I think it's a great song. I think it's a great closer. I was listening to this album with my dad one time, and he, completely independent of me, told me that this is like the bar sing along. Everyone's drunk, everyone's hand in hand, arm in arm, singing "I hope you know." Kind of a like a last song for the set.
Yeah, the chorus felt very theatrical to me. It was weird that the first band I thought of that it reminded me of was Queen, and it's not really that theatrical.
I don't know about that,
but it does sound very theatrical. No, I don't think it sounds like Queen. The chorus just sounds like it could be played in a musical.
I could see it as like in a movie where something. It's like the epilogue of the movie, or the the kind of ending scenes. Everyone's kind of getting closure and stuff, and kept my eye on the prize, and it was you.
Yeah, I think it is. Whether I like the actual like song or not, I think it is a nice like kind of wrapping it. He's like wrapping it up and tying it with a bow. This whole album.
I think they had well enough options to end this album on a bang, and that might have been their first inclination, but the fact that they chose to end it on this kind of slow, I don't really know how to describe the song, honestly, but the fact that they decided to end the album on this, I don't know, it's not what you would expect listening to the entirety of this album.
Yeah, and unfortunately, that's why I didn't really dig it, because it's not what I expected. So I'm sure on re-listens,
I love it.
It's gonna grow on me. Yeah, but I think I expected them to go out with a bang, especially because it sounded like their heaviest and their loudest shit was right in the middle of the album.
Yeah,
and I was like, oh, they're gonna bring that back, and then
they
didn't necessarily bring it back. But yeah, it's this album just altogether, like, especially going through it now with you and like talking through it. It's so emotional.
Yeah, it's very personal to this guy. You can see that he's kind of laying it out all on the table. He's not really holding much back.
Yeah, he's really putting himself out there, like very vulnerable, like place to put himself, and it is true. Like he's kind of like, this is what I was feeling at the time. I mean, I think he said that in an interview too, that he was like, this album like is a culmination of like all the things I've been dealing with emotionally and just in my life for the last few years. He put it on paper.
Yeah,
and it's amazing when someone can do that, and in a way, like we were talking about with our expand, it's in a way of packaging it in a way that people want to listen to it, and it's not just listening to someone
just like
complain about how shitty
me.
everything is.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I think this is a very unique record, and I do want to hear their other ones now to hear like where they went from here, because I do feel the same way from what you're saying, that this is probably going to be my favorite of theirs.
Well, who knows? I would love to hear your opinion on the third one, on Morbid Stuff. I would just love to hear what you think about it. And I probably need to listen to it again, because I did have to listen to this album 2 or 3 times before I really started enjoying it.
Oh, no shit. I didn't like immediately.
No, for some reason, like DVP was great, and then all the songs after that, for some reason, they just didn't connect. It took 2 or 3 listens, but there was like something in my head that was saying like, you're gonna like this album. You just got to keep trying. You just gotta do it. And one time it just clicked, and I was like, oh my god, I love this album. This might be one of my favorite albums of all time.
Damn. Well, shit. On that note, what is your rating on this
My
album?
rating, for The Dream Is Over is, I'm going to say a 9.4 for me. Just because
9.4?
9.4. I just love, I love this kind of emotional, nothing held back, aggressive music. I love that there are some songs that you wouldn't see from any other band, like Sleep in the Heat and, If This Tour Doesn't Kill You. There's some softer songs. I'm usually not into songs like Pine Point, but I really liked it. The disturbing kind of eeriness of the coast. It hits all the right notes for me, man. This is
9.4. That's fucking.
This is an
solid.
S tier album for me.
Well, I'm probably gonna come a little below that, but I did.
That's fine. I expected as much.
I did love this record. Did you expect me to like this record?
I was scared, man, because I've recommended records to you before, and you were like, "Yeah, it was whatever." And I'm like, "No."
Which record?
I thought you were gonna love it.
Which one that I did not like?
It's not like that you not liked it. It was like I recommended Odd Soul to you one time by Mute Math.
Oh, that was a great record.
Yeah,
but not
you
what
were
I
like
expected.
some of the songs were like, they had to get through them to get to the good stuff, and I was like, "Aw."
Yeah, no, it wasn't what I expected at all. But I actually went back to that one when I was going through like all my choice nugs of 2020, and I had heard. I think I picked 2 songs from that record that I really liked a lot, and I forgot about that record. That was a really good album.
I'm glad you liked it, but
This one was
I thought there was like a 60-40 in favor that you would like it.
Damn. Well, I really, really liked it. It was, not what I expected. I definitely thought it was going to be more of a downer and not as loud and not as aggressive and not as like fuzzy and gritty and snotty, like you said, really great ways to describe this album. And I didn't think I was going to like his voice as much as I did, because a lot of times like voices like this do kind of drive me crazy. And
for sure.
There are very few modern, in the last, I'd say, new punk bands or pop punk bands, especially in the last like 10 years, that I actually really like.
Yeah, for sure.
I think most of the pop punk that I like now is more what you would call easycore, like For Your Strong, and like Chunk, No Captain Chunk or whatever, and
yeah, Chunk, No Captain Chunk.
Yeah, Set Your Goals. Like those are the newer pop punk bands that I like. But so this was unexpected, man. Like it is hard for me to even call this pop punk, but it just has all those little sensibilities. But I would rate this out of 10. I would rate this a solid 8.7. An 8.7.
Wow.
Give this. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because there really was only one song that I didn't not like it. It just was kind of like, I think it was because where it was on the album. I didn't want to end the album on a soft note. But yeah, this is a really, really good record, and definitely one that I'm gonna go back to and listen just like in my free time, and probably get a deeper appreciation for it. I'm definitely
so glad to hear that.
Yeah, I definitely think like The Coast. Is it The Coast or no? I would say Sleep in the Heat and Old Wounds are my 2 favorite songs on this.
Oh, all right.
Old Wounds just because it's so fucking loud and so like just nonstop for like 2.5 minutes.
Super in your face the whole time.
Yeah, and Sleep in the
Yeah.
Heat was I felt very emotionally connected to what he was talking about in that, just from like my own memories of like losing a pet or losing, something like that I loved a lot. And yeah, man, 8.7, solid record. Whoever's listening to this too, if you want to comment or whatever, let us know what you thought of the record.
Dang it. Wait, we were going to make it so no one could tell us what they thought, but you know what? Maybe we will open up the comments.
Yeah, we unlocked the comments.
See what y'all think. Lucas, I have a question for you.
Do
you think I'm going to like the next record we're going to talk about?
Oh. 60-40, buddy. 60-40.
Which one's the 60?
I'm leaning towards 60 that you'll like it.
Okay.
Yeah, 60-40, because a very unique metalcore album, which might as well.
What is it called?
It's called Circle of Demons. It's by a band local from Austin, and they're called At All Cost. They broke up a long while ago, and I think this was the last record that they put out. And I love this album. I think it is a stoner metalcore record, and I think it's like the most psychedelic. Jesus, the most psychedelic metalcore record that I've ever heard. So they incorporate a lot of like trippy psychedelic stuff into their music, and their rhythms and how tight they are, I think you would appreciate.
All right. Well, you know what? I'm going to, when we hit stop, I'm going to go walk my dog and I'm going to listen to the album, man.
Oh, you're right on it, boy.
That's how early I'm going to be on this thing.
That's dedication.
So I'll give you my initial thoughts, man.
Sweet. Yeah, if you want to, man, but please do. I've heard that album so many times, but I'm definitely going to listen to it a couple times before we meet up. But on how would you rate this episode? What would you give this episode?
You know what? I think I would rate my performance in this episode 9.4.
I think I would rate yours 8.7, but mine 9.4.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I think you might be a little stingy there, but that's fine.
You know, to each their own. But thank you so much for listening, everyone. You're our buddies. You're our earbuds. And this was really fun, Brett. Thank you for suggesting this album.
I'm so glad you liked it, man. I'm over the moon that you enjoyed it.
Fuck yeah, I really did. And I really hope you like the next record.
I listened to a little preview, and I'm gonna tell you honestly, I don't know.
Oh boy. Well, we'll find out in about 30 minutes because it's another pretty quick record.
We'll find out next week.
Next week on Earbuds. Thanks for listening, everyone. This is Lucas.
Thank you.
And Brett.
And Lucas.
Bye,
and
buddies.
Brett.
And Brett. And Lucas.
Signing off.
Bye, buddies. 3,